We're talking about the acceleration of Ascension class. Actually, this Ascension's been going on since probably about the mid-90s. Yeah, about the mid-90s, when stuff has started going up here. This has been going on for a while. Some of us recognized it, some didn't. I didn't recognize it being an Ascension class, or Ascension we were going through, until probably about the last 10 or 15 years. But I knew something was happening, but it was totally different. In the mid-90s, it seems like you couldn't get anybody to go anywhere. I mean, energy, I was putting a tremendous amount of energy, and people get very little return from it back. So anyway, we're going to go ahead. We're going to do a special thing today. We're going to give you some gifts today. How does that sound? We're going to give you also a feeling of a workshop involved where you're going to get to experience what being 100% in spirituality is about, okay? A lot of people haven't experienced it. If they've experienced it, they'll experience it for a short period of time. So, and the other thing we're going to do is we're going to take you to oneness. Oneness is an extremely powerful place to work on. I've been living in my spirituality of 100%, 24/7, probably for several years. I've been living in oneness with that too. And the power of spiritual oneness, what you are is you're living in the world. See, when you're not in oneness, you're in ego, mind, and emotions. Ego, mind, and emotions, you're in survival. Ego is about survival. How are you going to survive over others? Ego, mind is about creating ways to survive. And the last one is emotions. Anger, mad, fear, whatever the emotion is, that gives you the drive. So ego, mind, and emotions, that's about survival. And the spirituality of oneness and living in spirit 100%, it's about living. Either living or you're surviving. I hate to say it, when you look around your people around you, you hear the way they talk, most people are trying to survive. And living in the land of living is a whole different way of doing it. That's what John and I have got together to share this with other people. Open it up to reality. You can get out of survival and get into the land of living, which is a whole different way to be that. So let's go and we'll get started with the presentation. It was about the mid-90s. I had a lady come into me in early 40s. I see a lot of people over the years. 48 years of practice, and you do see a lot of people, right? But anyways, one lady, she had a problem. I worked with her and got the issue taken care of, and she was doing very much better. I started walking over my desk to type my notes up. She turned around when I'm walking away, says, "What is my purpose in life?" I hate to admit, that's a big responsibility to put on somebody, all right? I stopped in my tracks. I couldn't believe she asked that question to me. I couldn't believe the responsibility involved with even answering that question. So I turned back around to her. I was getting angry. Really, I was going to tell her to give a piece of my mind. I turned around, I went to speak, and what came out? Raise your energy. When you raise your energy, you raise your consciousness. When you raise your consciousness, you raise your spirituality. When you raise your spirituality, your gifts start coming out. And all of us have special gifts. And the gifts will take you to your purpose. Well, she thanked me very much for that. I walked over to my desk, and instead of typing my notes, I got a sheet of paper. I wrote all this down. That voice that spoke out of me was not me. It was spirit. And I fear it. Some people call it God, spirit, light. I like using the word spirit, if you don't mind. Okay? When I say that, you can interpret what you want to in that process. So anyway, I wrote that down, and I've been using that ever since that time, mid-90s. What about for myself? I've been using it for myself. So I found out when you raise energy, that's why I've done in the energy work. I got into energy work in 1978, and 82 went to mainland China on U.S. Scientific China. Whoops, I'm getting a drink of water here. On the U.S.-China Scientific Exchange back in 1982. I got to train with 8 masters over there, and I was teaching them too. It was both the training process. So energy's been something really important to me. I got involved with chiropractic. Why? Because I thought nerves caused most of the problems. After practicing a couple of years, I came to realize what comes before nerves is energy. Everything's about energy. Everything. I can't think of anything that doesn't exist without energy. So that's number one thing got me going and activating me in a more stronger direction. Second thing, how about anybody know anything about crystal children? Don't you guys know much about crystal children? Yeah, okay. Well, in the 80s, I had a lot of ladies who were not be able to get pregnant and wanting to start their families. So I did some alternative work and energy work, and all these ladies started getting pregnant, which was real good. They were happy families they were starting. Back in the 80s, children would come in, and out of this process of working with these ladies, I ended up getting my practice being 46%. 26% is pediatric, 25% was geriatric, and everything else was between that. But then you had the indigo children were coming back in the 80s, all right? Indigo children have multiple auras. They had a lot of problems with in reference to ADHD and ADD. What happened with them is they were having problems taking information, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, getting in their brain. That's where they have learning problems. So I learned how to work with those issues out there back there. It's quite a learning experience to adapt. But all of a sudden, about in the mid-90s, we started having these kids come in who were very unusual kids. The first couple of ones I treated actually were hospice. They were hospice kids. They were only predicted only living a couple of days. Some of the parents I had, people who treated me, asked me to work on them. And these hospice kids, at that time, I didn't know they were crystal children. I did find out later on they were crystal children. These kids are crystal children. The reason why I call them crystal children is they have a white aura, they don't have a multicolor aura. They have a very bright aura in the process. Amazing thing when I found out about these crystal children. You know, we're supposed to have 12 chakras, you know, will centers and notochords. And these kids were coming in with 22 chakras already turned on. Wow. I thought, who are these kids? You know, this is a wholly different group of people. So that was 22 chakras. The will centers are back to the chakras. They were all turned on too. Notochords or energy go between a chakra and the will center, and also from chakra to chakra. Okay, they're about the size of your thumb. That's how big those are. Notochords are, and also they have auras, but their auras were not 12 auras. They were 22. So I thought, what in the heck is this? You know, whole different group of kids. Well, guess what? I ended up taking care of 6 hospice kids, and they all, within a day or two, were out of the hospital and getting released to their family. You know what? It wasn't anything I did. These kids, when I found out, their energies were all distorted. Now, you have to understand, when somebody comes in, they're operating on 12 chakras, will centers, and notochord. They're also operating on 12 levels of consciousness, 22 levels of spirituality, and they're also working on 42 dimensions, not a 3-dimensional or 4 if you count we. You know, if you count us right now, the time you put 4 dimensions there. These kids were really distorted. They came from a higher level of being to a lower level of being. So basically what I did is I started resetting their energy. I only had to set part of their energy, and after I got, then what happened, it would turn on and reset itself at that time period. So these kids were become great teachers to me. First of all, I wondered, who the heck are they? They're coming in the mid-90s, these crystal children, and I think a lot of people still don't understand. I mean, notice we didn't have every hand come up around here. These crystal children will be the teachers of us in the future. That's what they're coming in for, to change this world we have. They're extremely intelligent. The parents would tell me how intelligent they are, not because they're my kids. They're just extremely intelligent kids. If you know any of these crystal children, which my son and my daughter decided to have children, so right away I called in crystal children. So I got 2 of them. A very special gift. My little daughter's heart, granddaughter's heart. But anyway, they're have been quite a light to me, quite a teacher to me in the process. Okay. Well, and like I said, these are very unusual. They're manifesting. I think this is when the Ascension started manifesting around this time period that we're talking about. Is the beginning process, all right? And these kids, little kids, are teachers. Matter of fact, if you get involved with these kids, they're amazing. What you just sit and talk and have a conversation and see what they say back to you. They're pretty amazing kids. All special gifts they have. All of them are not only teachers, but they have ability. If you notice when with kids playing, they are natural leaders. So these crystal children, even kids older, will follow these kids around. So when they direct them, it's amazing to see what happens to them. Let's go, we're going to go over here. So I spent about 5 years in the Ascension process. I was put to a test. I didn't know it was a test at the time, but I have a lovely son and daughter and a wife. When I started having dreams about my family being taken away from me in a car accident, that went on for About 2 months. You know, I got angry, I got mad, I got rageful. You know, why would you do this? Take this away from me. This is my life. You know, why? You give me a life like that and take it away. And that reality I came to, I finally, after all this working through in 2 months, I came to reality, no matter what I have, I can't do it. I have to go back to spirit. I couldn't be my old self. I have to be a new self where I'm going right now. As soon as that happened, everything stopped. It was like a test. How committed am I to do my spiritual work? How committed am I to be a spiritual person? So that was a big process that took place at that time. Understanding my spiritual gifts is what came about. Remember, I raised my energy, raised my consciousness, raised my spirituality. My gifts started coming out. I have ability to work with gifts with energy with people. I've been doing that for a long time. But I've also developed the ability to work with groups, people with energy. And I'll be expressing my gifts a little later on, and you'll see those gifts. But you know what? Every one of you have special gifts. My gifts are no more important than yours. It's very important for you to do this process, raise your energy, raise your consciousness, raise your spirituality. As your gifts start coming out, using your gifts will take your purpose. If gifts come out and you don't use them, that's going to do nothing. You have to start using those gifts. That's your work you have to do in that. And that will take your purpose. What is this about oneness? I told you living in spirituality of 100% and being in oneness, 24/7. Oneness is love. You know, I read a psychological journal I read a lot of research journals. I usually research journals, 90% of them, and 10% I read are medical. Why do I do that? Research journals are 15 years ahead of medicine. So I always want to be in the cutting edge. Always reading there. There's a research journal came out last month. It was a psychological research journal, and it said, 90% of people don't love themselves. 90% of people don't love themselves. Wow. That's extremely powerful. I found that in my practice quite often, too, with people. So we got to go to love, learning how to love ourselves, love others, and others love us, receive it, and us loving God, and receiving love of God, too. Light energy love. When you do that, you go to feeling joy. Joy is a simple act of you being your true spiritual self, who you're meant to be, who you're made to be. Then you go to peace. Peace is just peace with yourself, to everybody yourself, doing what you're supposed to be doing. Then there's what's called interconnection. You interconnect yourself, you interconnect others, interconnect to light, spirit, light, joy, interconnect to your being that you are. Then you go to a state of oneness. Oneness is about being one yourself, one with others, others with you, one with the world you live in, one with spirit with you, but also one with the planet we live on, and the animals and everything else that live on this planet. And also one with the planet, solar system we're on, but also one with the universe we live on. And so one with also all the universes out there. We are all interconnected. What we do in this universe, in this time and place, it has effect on others. So it's infinite energy was oneness. So that's why I started working with it. I only have so much energy I can give to one person. They only have so much energy. But when I go working in oneness with people, it's unlimited energy. I can accomplish things I could not do with myself. So learning to work on that was very important. Connecting me to source. There's a part of oneness that we have to come to a point, which I call nothingness. Okay? Truly, when you become nothing, you connect to the whole and become something. But in reality, truly when you think ego takes over, ego, mind, emotion. Look at me, I exist. When you do that, you disconnect from everything else. Okay? So it's about how to become connectedness is to become nothingness. Accept your nothingness. Sacred. And when you do that, you connect to everything. You become something by not connecting. Okay? But by connecting to you, you separate from all. Trying to understand the ascension process. Part of the ascension process, why it's coming about, we lost the ability to be one. We lost that a long time ago. I actually have meditations I've done, visions I've seen of what we're capable of being, what we're capable of doing. It's pretty big. But we're far from that. We got a lot of work to do to get where we need to be at. And doing this part, we need to shed things. As the process of going through the ascension process, you have to learn about shedding everything that no longer serves you. There's what's called spiritual poisons, which I'll talk to you about in a little while. And that's why I'll help you with your spiritual poisons today. And we also talk about emotions. Releasing those that don't serve you. Deprogramming them past and present. That's about taking our perceptions. You know, when you take a perception on it, with a perception, you create a belief system. And when you create a belief system, you create a reality to go with it. Then you create a paradigm how you live your life. Then you put expectations on your life and the world you live in. So perceptions are good and they're survival things we use, but they also, when you get the expectations, if your expectation is one thing and it turns out nice, it's okay. You're happy. What if the expectation doesn't match? Then you get upset, you get angry, frustrated. So I found out the best way to live is not having no expectations at all. And also that means you have to eliminate your perceptions, belief systems, realities, and paradigms. But by doing that, guess what? You take all the stuff that you filled up here. I notice when I ask Spirit, come help me at times. We all ask that. We all ask these questions. You know, come help me. Why doesn't they help me? Well, I'm so filled with all my expectations, belief system, realities that how can Spirit help me? You got all these things here. What do you want me to do? I can't get through this stuff. I found out when you eliminate all those, clear them out, guess what? You're much more open to Spirit. You ask for help, Spirit can get in there. You don't have these things that stop you and restrict you who you're doing. Also, releasing frequencies that don't belong to you. We'll talk about that in depth later on too. We're also going to go through a transition process. I said the crystal children came in. We actually, I completed my ascension process 4 months ago. John, I've been working with him, mentoring him. He just did it this week. Thank you, John. Now, he's done a lot of hard work doing that, okay? This ascension process, we also become crystal beings, like crystal children, okay? We're actually doing progress away from organic beings, organic bodies, to crystal bodies. So we're going to release chemicals, viruses, and other pathogens that don't serve us. Reprogramming the body's immune system and the neural immune system, which I think the nervous system and neural immune system are most important systems in our body. You have to understand, they didn't do research on immune systems till in 1982. That sounds, oh, that's a long time ago. Not in science, not in research. I graduated in mid-70s. You know, there was only a very brief stuff about the immune system back then. It is the most important system of the body. That's what I came to learn throughout my years. I've been studying the immune system for almost 25, 27 years. Last thing, we return to the purity of a spiritual body. We're going to transform the world by living in an act of love. That's what's the most powerful energy is love. We're going to start working with it. We're going to return to oneness. I said our future emotions that help guide and direct us in the future should be love, joy, peace, interconnection, oneness. You know, on this planet, most of us think, oh, we're all humans, we're all here. There's actually 42 other species living on this planet. 42 other species on here. They look like us, act like us. They've had to learn to survive that way. They were able to transform themselves. 26% of 26 of them are what I call incorruptibles. They don't cause any problems. They're not corruptible at all to us. Don't cause a problem with it. Actually, we coexist very well with each other. Now, we have 16 which I call incorruptibles. I've dealt with these for many years, as much as 30 years. These are energies that on the planet that perceive for their existence, they have to take energy off of you. That's why they're corruptible. They start robbing your energy. That's why they were called corruptibles to that. Now, of these 16 corruptibles, only 12 to 22% of them are actually corrupted. So not only is there corruptibles. Most people, you know, I know people know a lot about reptilians, all right? There is a certain percentage of them corruptible, about 14% of them are corruptible, reptilians are. The other ones are good. I find most of these species work with us very well. And we have very well responded to. I've treated a lot of them. I've also worked with a lot of them. So we are joining all 42 species together to work along, and also got alien access other races outside this universe coming into us too. And I I know there are corruptibles with them, but most of my find are not corruptible at all. Let's get on to a journey of oneness. We will understand how powerful we are. I explained that earlier. We are extremely powerful people. We've given our power away. We've been beat down for many years. I could go into a lot of discussion about that. That's the past. Let's deal with the present. We right now working to get, we did a series of getting up to 22 chakras. That's what I worked on myself. These crystal children are teachers. I started raising my 22 chakras, 22 will centers, 22 node cores, 22 auras, to raise your higher function. And that's what we have to go through in this process to go into oneness. We also will work raising our level of consciousness. There's actually 12 levels of consciousness, 22 levels of spirituality, and 42 dimensions. How do I know that? That's what the crystal children are teaching us, all right? So I started working, and they are. I exist. I raised my 12 levels of consciousness, spirituality, and dimensions. Actually, the group we're dealing with, the You Being You classes we have, that's what we do. Help get you through these areas and raising your level of consciousness and spirituality and also dimensionals. Well, the current status of the planet right now. I'm not going to talk about the past. That's the past. But I'm going to kind of update you where things are currently at right now. We have, since about October 2024, the group we have in our Spirituality You Being You class, we have a meditation we do every Tuesday, 12 to 12:20. It doesn't matter where you're at. We have people all the way from Europe and Australia and South and North America that are joined us. But we have about 94 that are active right now doing this. What we started doing is working on trying to raise the global 12 levels of consciousness, 22 levels of spirituality, and 40 dimensions. So our meditations, we got together in oneness, we start raising it on the whole planet. Well, to my surprise, I thought it would take maybe a year or couple years to do that. It was very rapidly it happened. It surprised me so much that when it happened, I had stepped back, and next thing I know, and I think it was right before Thanksgiving last year, we'd already accomplished this. All 12 levels of, all these levels that we wanted to do were accomplished. And I thought to myself, what do we do now? I don't know. I mean, I'm starting this process. I really don't have control of it, really. But anyway, I was ahead of it. All the 94 sent energy to me, and we sent energy for raising these things up. Well, what happened is right about the time of the winter solstice, what activated that time was the 17 highest came to me. I have these spiritual beings come to me at times. I didn't know who they really were, to be honest with you. And they asked if they could help us. If they help us, I said, yeah. But she said, you have to ask us. See, humans have free will. A lot of these other things I've talked about in different ways do not have free will. So I had to ask them, will you help us? I didn't know quite who they were, but I found out later on, these are 17 angels of God. They're not angels for people. They work with God directly, our spirit. And so I thought, yeah, go ahead and help. So then I'm a spectator from this point. I'm taking our energy from our group and sending it to them. And that went on all the way to about, no, that was up to that time period. Yeah, I've got to correct my time periods on here, right? But anyway, after that, I think it was winter solstice. Yeah, it was the winter solstice when the 17 of 17, which they worked 45 days straight, 24 hours a day. They were doing that. Then they left, and I thought, what do I do now? Well, I don't know what to do. I mean, this is way beyond my pay grade, but I'm just buzzing along the trailer and just trying to find spirit, all right? And then they said, what came up to, we recommend the 72 angels of God. Ooh, I didn't know who they are. I know they're angels, but most angels I've ever worked with or been around, they work with people. Most of your angels and archangels are basically for people. The angels do 4 things. They're either messengers for us, they're messengers, or guardians, or teachers, or spiritual guides. That's the 4 purposes most angels have. So, and I thought, who are these angels God? Well, I was explained later on, they're not angels for people, they're angel for God. So anyway, I was told, well, I had to ask them too. Will you do this work, help us with this? They see what we're doing and the direction we're going in, and we're doing it for a right reason. So they're starting to help. They come forward to help with us. All I'm as a spectator, it's going to be going on until February 20th. I think February 20th is when they're finished with their work. Now, what's going to happen at that? I don't know. I really don't. But I will find out at February 20th. And what else is going to be done. But this is about raising the planet that we have. This is our planet. We got to take care of it. We got to rebuild it. So anyway, participating in the ascension process, you know, I always tell people, which I've told John many times, spiritual work is one of the hardest work you'll ever do in your life. It's not easy. Not easy at all. It's very painful. It's about being brutally honest with yourself. Brutally honest with yourself. Being open and honest with yourself. It's not fun being that honest, but we have to look at ourselves and get a true reading of ourselves and who we are. So in reality, it's also the most rewarding work you do. Now, at the point right now, approximately 40% of the population right now that I've worked with so far is going to go through ascension process. 54% of people are choosing not to. Okay? That's we have free will. You don't have to send. That's a choice you have. And 46% are choosing that, 54% are choosing not to. But the 54% aren't going to be raising their spirituality and consciousness. They're just not going to go through ascension process. That's their free will. Maybe they have purposes I don't know. And that's okay too. This process that we have got to hit critical mass. It's about 4% of the population. And with us having 8+ billion people, that's going to be about 320 million people we have to hit, or get to anyway. The current status right now is 32 million. That's what we have accomplished right now. That's only 10% there. I don't know, will it take a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? I don't know. That's up to us. We have to continue in this process of overcoming the negative energy patterns in our life and around us. We have help. I told you we're not by ourselves doing this. The more I do more and more work, I find out what we have. We have many light beings that are helping here too. We have ascended masters. All these you have to ask. You have to ask. They don't have free will. Angels and archangels we talked about, light beings, 42 species are wanting to work with us too. 17 of the highest, and all the 72 angels of God. As we're connecting more with our spiritual path and our journey that we're on, it's collectively. This is our planet. This is us. As we are doing that, as more we line up doing our job, help to improve this planet we live on, the more they're lining up with us and helping us. Well, how to detect if you're in this process? I said your issues are your greatest teacher to you. Sometimes our greatest weaknesses are greater teachers to us. Sometimes our spouses are our greatest teachers to us. We got partners that are great teachers to us. Anybody that brings about our weakness and mirrors our weakness to it are great teachers to us. We need to release lower energies of life. Releasing the lower energies of life is you'll have unusual sensations in your body, mysterious health issues, recurrence of past injuries, feeling of anxiety and depression, dizziness, balance imbalances, and also other symptoms. A lot of these lower energies include also emotions that we have, attachments to each other, attachments to things, corruption, corrupt energy we talked about a little bit, viruses. And we have another thing I'm going to talk about real briefly with you. These lower energies disrupt 4 pathogens we have on the planet. There's only 4 pathogens on this planet. We have bacterial, fungus, parasites, and viruses. It took about 23 years ago, research done in Penn State University, they started looking at bacteria and asking different questions they never asked before. All we've been doing with bacteria is warring against bacteria all the time, trying to keep it down. Antibiotics and everything else like that. Did you notice what? They're running out of antibiotics. And they do a brand new antibiotics anywhere from 1.5 years to 6 months, the body's already resistant to it. This is where we're getting all these superbugs at. Resistant bacterial. And it's created all these bacterial antibiotics given to us, and we become superbugs, and all of a sudden the antibiotics don't work anymore. Well, guess what? They found out over those 23 years, and the last couple of years, that's why you notice you see those commercials, get probiotics, take probiotics, your health's going to be better. Guess what? Healthy bacteria will healthy us. Same way, so we have a biome system. They're starting to call it a bacterial biome system right now. That's an ecology system. Well, let me surprise you with one more thing to think about. Scientific community knows what I'm going to tell you right now. They don't know what to do with it. What if you took all the bacteria in you, because you have 150 bacterial for every one of your cells, and you have around 50 trillion cells. If you took all the bacteria out of you, and guess what, if you took all the fungus out of you, and you took all the parasites out of you, took all the virus out of you, how much do you think would exist? How about 4%? So we're not the majority in this body, we're the minority. You understand? We have to learn to live with our bacteria, our fungus, parasite, and viruses. All these four actually are biome systems. I've been treating them as biome systems for close to 10 years. So when fungal imbalances are 1 to 3% fungus we should have in our body. If you get a 12 to 15%, instead of trying to chase these funguses down, give the extremely serious medicine for fungus infections that really damaged the liver really bad, guess what? Just treat the fungus. I treat the bacterial, fungus, and parasites, usually a treatment or two, and guess what? The ecology system comes together. The viruses stop, and also the parasites stop. There are a lot of parasite infections there. See, we're looking at this thing as warning against these pathogens. They're us. We live with them. That's part of us. We have to come to ecology looking at how we are in this system we have. And sit warm with everything, start falling in love with it, and reconnecting up to who we are. Accelerating the process here, right? What I have spent a lot of years with my spiritual development and working with people's health a lot, and that's what I've done for 48 years. I started noticing there are blocks. The blocks that hold us back physically, but these same blocks hold us back spiritually too. And we're going to go to, oops, I just got to back up a little bit. I didn't mean to do that fast. We're actually, here we are as a physical body. And we go to ego, mind, emotions. That's ego, mind, emotion, part of ourself. And where we need to get is from ego, mind, emotions, let go of that, and get over to spirit. Spirit, oneness, and the higher self of God, connection with God. So one of the areas of blocks are energy blocks. We can have blocks in our meridians, our organs, our chakras, our will centers, our notochords, we talked about all this stuff already, auras. All shocks and traumas are major things we involve with this planet we live on. And we also have corrupt energies to get in us, to throw us off too. So we need to clear these. Next set of blocks, we come into our emotional mental. We talked real briefly about perception, belief systems, realities, paradigms, and expectations. You know, most of our mental conditions and are caused from emotions. But you know what? So hard to clear schizophrenia. People know about schizophrenia. You can't treat it in this lifetime. Schizophrenia comes from generations on mother's side of the family or father's side of the family. These are very deep problems. That's why all they do in this world is use medications on them. You got to go back to the problem. It might be 6, 7, usually 6, 7, 8 generations back for schizophrenics. And these generations go deeper on your mother and father's generational side. You have to go back to the origin of problems, clear them from the origin. You can't work in this world if you got a problem in your generational problem or a past life problem. I'll talk to you about that a little later on. And these perceptions, belief systems, realities, and paradigms and expectations cause a lot of this stuff in our lifetime. We have other frequencies in them, we're going to talk about a little later on. Generational emotions, I just talked about that. Mother and father's generation. We inherit at conception our mother and father. Good, bad, and ugly about our mother and father. We get both of them. Doesn't matter what it is, but we get it. Then we have what's called past life. We have injuries that have traumatized us in past lives. They've traumatized to a point and they've done damage to our DNA. And guess what? That gets planted for every lifetime. I have people dealing with anywhere from 3 to 5 to 10, 15 lifetimes ago, damage they have. We actually keep bringing it back every lifetime to try to heal it up, work on it. That's what we want to do with it. That's what this whole thing is about. Let's keep coming back to this planet. Is ready to heal ourselves up. And at the same time, heal the planet up. Got to clear those blocks out. The next one are chemical blocks. We have dioxin, DDT, DDE, and PBC. Why I put those 4 chemicals? We have thousands of chemicals. Why put these 4 chemicals up? Because they don't have a half-life. When you've exposed this chemical, it will not break down. DDT is another name for DDT is Agent Orange. Probably all heard of Agent Orange sometime or other, right? Okay, it does not have a half-life. It was never. I live in St. Louis, and Monsanto's in St. Louis. I treat a lot of chemists over the years, and I got to treat one of the ladies, Carol Silver, which she's passed on right now, being a very dear friend of mine. But she was one of the inventors of dioxin. It was made for an insulator. Insulate electrical, so electrical currents could not come together. That's what they put in these transformers. You see these transformers on the highway all the time. That's what they made that chemical because they were losing energy. Guess what? Somebody spilled it on the ground out in Monsanto, came back the next day and the grass was all dead. Oh my gosh. This started using as a defoliant. There was never a test for a defoliant. It was never treated. It was never examined what kind of effect it had on humans. They just started using defoliant. Monsanto did. And I was a helicopter pilot in Vietnam, and I was exposed to dioxin too. So that was a concern of mine. But you know what? If you look up Wikipedia about dioxin, when I read it out, you'll read about there, it's in our water, it's in our food. So every time you drink a glass of water, drinking water, eating, you have dioxin in it. It doesn't have a half-life. So we have to be forced to live with this chemical. So anyway, we talked about biosystems damages, heavy metals, and also hormones. And a lot of these chemicals affect a lot of hormones we have for people and adrenal problems. These are other blocks. Now we go into the last set of blocks, which is the immune system. What it has to deal with all this stuff in our life is it causes tremendous stress in our immune system. It's probably the most beautiful system in the body I've been studying for the last 25, 27 years. This creates a lot of dysfunction in our immune system. And we have two immune systems. We have a body's immune system and a neural immune system. And then we also have inflammation. We'll talk to you in detail about that too later on. Inflammation, when you have inflammation, that's a marker for autoimmune. Autoimmune means premature degeneration. This is why we have people die in the 60s, 70s, and 80s when this body's made to live 120 years plus. So we'll talk to you about inflammation later on too. That's something I've spent a lot of time looking and researching for a long time. We got other old viruses that live in this, autoimmune problems, which you talked about is inflammation, the spike protein caused from these vaccinations we've had. So there we go. We clear these blocks. This allows you to accelerate through the ascension process for you. We can actually get people anywhere from 60 to 80% accelerate through the ascension process if you want to do that work. So let me explain a little bit different about the body, all about the energetic body and the memory body. Now, I'm going to explain you some things probably you never heard before, but that's okay. It's a new way of being. We have what really causes all our problems in life is shocks and traumas. A shock is something that happens to you. You think things are supposed to go this way, and you get shocked because all of a sudden it turns out 180 degrees different than anything you ever thought about. That's a shock to you. Whether it's physical, mental, emotional, it shocks you. That turns things off on you. Traumatize you. Actually alters your aura around here, which is your holographic being. Then we have traumas that have traumas that happen to you, are done on a physical level, physical falls and injuries, mental, emotional, chemicals we talked about already, and thermal stress, which we've not talked about. Those are four major causes of most of the traumas that we have in life. But guess what? We have this holographic being around us, okay? We call it aura, 3 to 5 feet, if you want to. We are actually a hologram is what we are. See, this is our brain. This is our hardware. That's not our software. Our software is stored out here. It's in a holographic being. You ever ask somebody a question, they'll look to their left. If you watch people ask a question, you'll see their eyes move left and right or down. They're actually trying to search a memory out, that holographic being. That's how you're trying to find that memory. If you ask questions, you'll see people do it. Look right, left, then we'll answer your question, all right? So we are holographic beings. So anything that gets to us has to go through this energetic body first, okay? Now, when it gets to an energetic body, guess what? It alters our energetic body, alters our memory too. What do we have a backup system to allow us to adapt? See, we're adaptive society. We have adapted so much through the years and centuries and millenniums. And our adaptation process is what I'm going to talk about right now. This allows us to adapt. In the adaptation process we have, when you get back to this holographic memory, the second memory is the DNA. We finally found out 23 years ago, oh my God, epigenetics exists. And our DNA is not fixed. We're not stuck. And it's constantly changing DNA, constantly changing. When you alter this holographic being, how you survive with that adaptation is you alter the DNA. So there's both work back and forth. I know when I treat people all the time, I'm constantly treating a DNA, resetting a DNA, and I have to reset the holographic being. You have to do both those to get healing. Another thing that's very important too, you got to find out when the trauma existed. The trauma might exist in this lifetime. That's fine. Might exist in with their mother and father's generations. Or it might exist also in a past life. To get things really to heal up in the body, you got to go to the origin of the issue. Because as soon as you clear the origin out with DNA and holographic meaning, it's like a domino effect. Everything goes. Those 6 past lives goes right to conception to birth, birth to present time. All that DNA alters. All that system alters. Very few people, I'm sorry, understand that. I was trying to teach doctors and I just could not get it. I don't know why. I think it's so simple, the process is. So how to heal process, you have to heal from the inside out. The DNA has to heal, and then you can heal the holographic memory. Our adaptation processes, we go a little bit more timing on this. We talked about shocks and traumas already. I said before, you got to find the origin of things. Is this inherited? Or adaptation process? Was it inherited adaptation that you had from your mother, side of the family, generational, 6, 7, 8, 12 generations or something like that? How about father's generation? So these alter our DNA and our emotions and weaknesses up here. We also have past lives. Past life traumas. You got to go to the past life. You got to do the work from that point in order to clear the people out, to allow them to heal. Next one, we have conceptions. At conception, spermatogenesis, the study of spermatogenesis, when the egg and the ovum come together, the ovum actually explodes, opens up for the sperm to come in. The sperm clamps down, the ovum clamps back down, cuts the sperm in half, cuts the tail off. That's a traumatic event. Guess what? That alters DNA. That also can actually put in emotional events in that trauma, because that's a coming together life force in there. I find a lot of conceptual DNA damage sometimes. Then we have other ones, which is called vanishing twins. You can actually get damage from conception to birth. There's a lot of different traumas can happen to mother and things like that. Actually, very interesting for these ladies that have children. 85% of the emotions, 85% of emotions a mother has when she's carrying a child is the baby's emotion, not hers. That's why I've had that happen over and over in the office and treat the baby's emotions inside the mother, and all of a sudden the mother calms down. It's an amazing thing to watch and see happen. Next thing, we have traumas and shocks. What? In this lifetime. We have injuries, emotions, chemical stresses and thermal stresses. I do not consider myself a healer by any means. The only one I can heal is myself. I can't heal anyone else. I am a facilitator. That's one of my gifts. One of my purposes is facilitating people to heal themselves by finding their problems and things they have and start helping them find out where it's at so we can facilitate the process through DNA and energy. Now we're going to go and get to talk about the spiritual poisons. In 2011, I spent 3 years setting up a trip to Tibet. And there was a lot of planning in order. You couldn't go strictly to Beijing at that time and go to Tibet. You had to go someplace else. So I went to Shindu province and I went to climb Urmei Mountain. Spent 2 weeks climbing Urmei Mountain. And then from there, I could fly real easy from Urmei Mountain to Tibet. I had 2 interpreters. Lin Hai was an interpreter from English to Mandarin. I had Soren was a Tibetan interpreter, and he interpreted from Mandarin to Tibet. So I went with him, and I had to have a driver also. So anyway, we got to fly to Tibet. We climbed 3 different mountains up there with Buddhist temples on them. One of the highest Buddhist temples I climbed up to was 16,000 feet. Now, these are Himalayan mountains. When I say 16,000 feet, that was not the top of the mountain. There was another 6,000 feet higher. There's just no trails going up there. This is where this temple was that we went to. So we had a good time going up and doing that. Well, on the way, I'm telling the story for a reason here. On the way coming back down that mountain, which I was 61 years of age at the time, and actually Lin Hai was a little concerned about my age level climbing that high mountains. When you get 16,000 feet, you walk about 6 steps, and you have to sit and breathe for a while before you can walk on a little bit farther. So anyway, the process, we were on the way coming down, and Suran told Linhai to tell me he has a cousin, which was a nun at the time, and she's a Buddhist nun, and she was living in one of the caves around her. Up and climbing these mountains, he had these little caves around here, and people were living in them as we walk up, we could see them. So I said to her, yeah, no problem. Well, he kept talking to people in the caves till we worked around the side of the mountain and found her. Then we let Surhan talk about 15, 20 minutes. Then she turned back around and started yelling something. And anyway, the interpreters went to me and said, she was telling that the lama's back. You want to meet the lama? I said, well, I never met a lama before. I'm experienced. I'm out there doing an adventure anyway, climbing these mountains. Well, why not? And so anyway, and to this very day, I don't know how she did this. She's a little bitty nun, these Buddhist crew cuts. These ladies have crew cuts, very basic outfits they have. She came over, I had my backpack on me. To this very day, I don't understand how she did. She took my backpack off me. We standing there, put it on her back, started heading up the mountain. And I looked at her, oh no. I said, I'm tired, I can't climb the mountain, I'm exhausted. I can't do it. And so she yelled something back to my interpreters. My interpreters turned around and they started walked behind me and they started pushing me. And I said, what did she say to push you? They pushed me 1,000 feet up there. So anyway, I got up there and here was the Lama's meeting. He was standing on this rock ledge. And he said, I've been waiting for you. And through the interpreters, they told me, I thought that was very confusing to me. I didn't know that I was even going to be doing this. And if they meet this person, these are these spiritual journeys you all get on. You're going to all have spiritual journeys of your own. They're all going to come out like that. Whatever you expect is going to happen is going to happen totally opposite of what we thought, okay? So then I end up spending a Lama. I spent a day with the Lama up there. We went in this little cave. He had a cave with 2 sections on it. And we went in a cave where he has his, there were some pads he put together on a rock formation that we were sitting there. And he had all this religious stuff over here. And he starts talking to me. And I was sitting right next to him, and Surhan and Linhai was sitting across from me. They're watching me, and all of a sudden he started telling me, administrating to me, telling me things to do. He pulls his scrolls out, starts reading his scrolls, and they're very confused. I'm looking there confused. I'm confused. I don't even know he's talking Tibetan. I don't even know what's being said here. But he did do one thing. He touched me 13 times, which Tibetan people don't touch people. And 5 minutes to 8 minutes, they stayed on me. And there was actually a vibratory effect when he was doing it, like almost a vibra effect. I knew something was going on, I didn't know it. I found out later on, I thought about it, he was downloading programs on me is what he's doing. Loading programs at the time. So anyway, and we spent the rest of the day with him. It was starting to get, before it got dark, we got to get off the mountain because there's no lights up there at all. It's pitch dark. And so it was starting to get dust a little bit, so we had to head off the mountain. So I got to say bye to him. And he actually gave me a spiritual name at the time. So anyway, and from that point on, Suran always said, no, you're not David. My spiritual name he was given to me. That's what you're going to be the rest of your life, And so I'm not really taken on very often, but I do recognize the name. He still comes to me. The Lama still comes to me. When I do meditation and prayer, he comes to me at times and still talks to me. I have to tell him, don't talk Tibetan. I don't understand that. Talk to my mind. And then you talk to your mind. It's funny when you do. People have them talk to your mind. You can understand them. If they're talking their foreign language, you can't understand them. Okay. So anyway, one thing he taught me was the 5 poisons. He said, you got 5 poisons? Guess what? You got 5 medicines. So he went to us and started teaching me about the 5 poisons and the 5 medicines. First poison is ignorance. Second is greed. Third is hatred. Fourth is jealousy. And the 5th is pride. The medicine for ignorance is wisdom. The medicine for greed is compassion. The medicine for hatred is love. The medicine for jealousy is rejoicing. And the medicine for pride is repenting. Pride is the most toxic spiritual poison. Why? Over the years, I've learned this over and over again. You thought hatred would be bad, or maybe, greed, but I'm really finding out pride is the most spiritual poison, toxic poison. Why? Because it separates us from ourselves. It separates us from others. And it separates us from spirit, God, light, what do you want to call it? And that's one of the poisons you'll be working on the rest of your life. What's the biggest problem we have with healthcare in our world right now? Information. 90% of illnesses are information-based. Information is a marker for autoimmune. Oh, how many autoimmune problems do we have in the world? Tons of them. Well, most are, I said 90% of illnesses are autoimmune-based. Okay? 25 years I've had that question. I asked Spirit, what is causing all this information in the world? Oh, through research and everything else, I was able to find things to reduce it. Oh, take care of toxins, pathogens, and all kinds of stuff. Start reducing the information. I never get it down to zero. I couldn't understand why I couldn't get it down to zero. I did everything. 25 years I've been working on it. That's a big, I'm a dog with a pit bull with a bone. You get it in my mouth, I'm not going to let go of it. I asked the Spirit, I was demanding for answers from that. I finally got the answer for that. But guess what? The answers were not outside, they were inside us. We've done this to ourselves. Had to throw around a whole different outlook. Cancer, heart disease, all these autoimmune problems, all the arthritis, this goes on and on. We have done this to ourselves. Between 2 to 18 years of age, we have taken other people's energy in us. And other people's energy coming in our energy field. Other people's energy coming in our energy field is foreign energy. See, our immune system, which I've studied in detail, works on one part of your immune system and decides anything that's you, we don't attack. Anything that's not you, we attack. That's called self and non-self. Self, we don't attack. The immune system doesn't do that. So non-self, we do attack. And when you take non-self energies, motions and feelings and thoughts from other people and you just created a situation, you're putting stress on your immune system. The immune system does only what it's trained to do. It's non-self, it starts attacking it. Okay? I can't explain why we do this. Between 2 to 18 years this happens, all right? I have people between 2 to 18 years will take 2 other people's energy in them all the way up to 16 I've seen as high as. Okay? So if I took an average on the inflammatory problems and autoimmune problems in there, when the information is a marker for autoimmune. Autoimmune means premature degeneration. So let's go ahead and look at this right now. If I took a group reading on the group right now, we're in oneness. So all I have to do is pick any one of you I can test, and it tests out everybody. Okay? %72% average on information throughout about the whole group class up here, right? This is John, my co-worker we have. John, over his frequency is 352. Now, humans have a frequency in the 300 range. Animals are in 200 range. Plants, 100 range. So every one of you have a 300 frequency. And that's a frequency you have the rest of your life. That's not temporary. Unless you have a major surgery or a major trauma could alter that. You would change their frequency a little bit, okay? Well, John, for instance, he took a 321 frequency, a male, into him. 382, I'm using an example, John. 382 is a female energy he took in. 363 is another male energy he took in, and a female energy, 394. And 345 and 377. That's another female energy, right? When you take these energy in, I've said they're not you. It's not your energy. Your immune system is set up to attack anything that's foreign, not you. So we don't bring their physical bodies, but we bring it. My perception is, I don't know, maybe we need love from that individual. Maybe they're stronger than us, or they have some strength that we don't have. I don't know why we do this. I just found out what it is. And when I started treating it, I said, oh my gosh, this is what I've been looking for all this time. So what we're going to do right now, and I would say lowest number on people having the energies in them, 4 different energies, and the lowest number of the group is a oneness. Highest number, 17, okay? So pretty close. That's at 16. Somebody went above that. Somebody had to break a record there. Okay, so now what we're going to do right now, I told you my group is an energy. I have my gift is a real phase invert energy neutral, and we're going to clear all these emotions, thoughts, and feeling, and energy that's not yours, okay? And we'll see, we can get pretty close down to clear this energy on each one of you. Hopefully we'll get this thing down to pretty close to zero. our list within, hopefully below 10 points of information. Let's start clearing the energy in the whole room. Phase inverting that energy into neutral energy. Thoughts, feelings, emotions, and others' energy. There we go. I think, yeah. See, information was 72, 71, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. We're down to 6%. Information as grew went from 72% to 6%. There's no steroid out there. There's no medicine out there can do just what we just did right now. Who did that? You did. We did it together in oneness. That's the power of oneness, okay? Now, that pretty well, I gave you 3 gifts today, okay? I hope you enjoy those gifts. They will make a difference in your life. They will definitely shift you. John and I offer a class, You Being You, the spirituality You Being You, the path of oneness. I just did a couple parts of this whole class right now with you. So if you want to take the whole class and do your shift that you're going to do on your ascension process, you're welcome to do that if you want to. John will explain that to you a little later on here. But here's the other parts that I didn't do on you. We stopped information. I just did that with you. I brought it down. I didn't stop it. We brought it down very low. But usually when we do this as the next or second or third time, it will go down to 0. Okay? This has made a tremendous amount of difference in people's energy, their health, their feeling in that. Because these autoimmune problems really take a toll on us. 90% of illness is autoimmune based. We're going to go into if the body's inflammation causes scar tissue. What causes scar tissue in the body is inflammation infections. This is causing a lot of people up to 60, 70, 80% scar tissue in their body. Guess what? Your immune system is capable of breaking scar tissue down. And that's what we'll do is reprogram the immune system to break scar tissue down, number 1. Number 2, our immune system is called stem cells, adult stem cells. These adult stem cells will do it. They'll regenerate tissue in the body. And we will actually activate those in there. I have people within 6 months to a year and a half, they should be able to activate their body and activate their nervous system. We also clear up the perceptions, emotions, and mental issues we'll go through. I talked those very briefly today. We'll clear it and reset the neurotransmitters. We're supposed to have 46 neurotransmitters working in the body. I have not found anybody who had 46 of them working yet. And the same way with hormones. We're supposed to have 76 hormones working in the body. I have not found anybody who has 76 hormones on. I usually find them in the 20 and 30 range, and we can actually activate those and reactivate those hormones and also reactivate the neurotransmitters. That's made a tremendous difference with people with mental health problems and all kind of mental problems by getting your brain reactivated and farming properly. And same with the hormonal problems. We also will actually connect the neurotransmitters to hormones. So you got the 2 regular systems, nervous system over here, hormonal system over here. That's working. We got them working. We'll get them working. But we want to have to do one more thing. Got them working together. That's not been done. I haven't found anybody yet that has those 2 unified. We actually can work on actually treating those, reconnect those together. The next most important organ in the body is called the hypothalamus. It's only a small little piece of our brain. Most center part of our brain is. It actually is a connecting point for all points in the body. It regulates all 50 trillion cells in the body. The scientific community hasn't came to that level yet. They recognize only 30 parts it does. It does every cell in the body. And we'll activate that, and we'll also reconnect all 50 trillion cells to hypothalamus all 50 trillion cells. We also will do work in repairing and cleaning up damage to the immune system. And we'll also start working on major illnesses. These are major problems I've seen with people over years that cause major health problems. Concussions. I studied with Dr. Phillips in New Zealand. He's the one that has the best wealth for reprogramming concussions and recorrecting these concussions. Anesthesia. Oh my gosh. Anesthesia is such a great gift to us. We can do surgery, we can do dental work and all these things up here. Let me tell you, I've had people carried in my office. They've been to doctors, they've been to also hospitals. No one can find out why they're deteriorating. It's really deteriorating physically. They actually get carried in my office. Usually about 5 treatments, I would get the anesthesia down. They could start walking on themselves. Another 5 treatments, and they would be back to normal health again. This anesthesia's gift, which it is, for some reason, the medical profession gives it, walk around like it just disappears. Some people it does. But I find a majority of people it doesn't. It does accumulate in the body, shuts the organs and glands down, and you're functioning at much lower levels. So you can clear that. We can get the immune system, recognize the antigen, take it out. Same way with radiation. Radiation exposure is only supposed to have 1.5 rad a year. Let me tell you, I have people coming with 60, 80, 120 rads in their body. That does a major damage to DNA and also the health of the individual. So anyway, we also get the immune system, recognize rads, take it out. You know, I have never found anything the immune system cannot deal with. That's the amazing thing about it. But it gets shocked and traumatized. It's confused. So you have to reprogram it to get it recognize things. And then we do structural issues at the very end. By that time, we get all these things cleared up. Guess what? Structural problems are very easy. Back, neck, arms, legs, extremities, hips, back, all this stuff is recoverable very quickly. And the last thing we do, a shedding of the spike protein, which is a result of this jab that we had.